Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, June 20, 2019. I'm pleased to introduce you to Polliwog, 1953 15-foot Lyman Runabout, who has just been brought into the shop for some major work, both inside and out. It's nice to see one of these small Lyman Runabouts this old in such excellent condition. Virtually all of the work we will be doing with her and to her and on her will be cosmetic. We do have a couple of issues that we will repair, but beyond that, she's just a wonderful boat in wonderful shape, and we look forward to transforming her, well, let's say to returning her to some of her previous glory. The exterior hull sides are ready for new paint. The bottom paint is flaking off. It seems that perhaps the last application of bottom paint was executed without primer, and as a result we have this kind of situation where the paint is simply peeling and flaking off along much of the hull below the waterline. But as you see, the hull sides present themselves rather nicely. But it's time, and we will begin at the gunnel and strip her completely down to and including the keel from stem to stern. Happily, we have an example of an early 15-foot Lyman Runabout with a sound transom. We do have a couple of issues to deal with. This seam has opened up at some point. Somebody tried to pay some sort of material into it. It really didn't succeed. It's all open. We see cracks and the beginnings of openings along the seam between the transom and the aft ends of the strakes. The transom will be stripped to bare wood after we've removed the engine mounting plate, the handles and everything else. In fact, all the hardware, everything inside now is coming off the boat. Her current owner is the second owner. The first owner was a machinist, or probably still is a machinist, I don't know. But he believed, it seems, in overbuilding. This boat is powered by a 25 horsepower Green Johnson, the infamous Green Johnson with all of the screws holding it together. We're guessing this is aluminum, and it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. The gauge is about 1/8 of an inch. You think that'll hold a 25 horsepower little two-stroke Johnson? I guess so. But similarly, this owner hung the boat when he started in the winter from 4 points. And as with the mounting plate, let's see if we can get a look. As with the mounting plate, let me pan in here. He wanted to be sure that this, what would you guess she weighs? 400 pounds? This 400-pound hulking hull with its monstrous 25 horsepower engine did not drop. So these are stainless steel that have been machined. The through bolt is a half-inch carriage bolt. We've got these mega washers, convex washers on here. We've machined out braces between the connectors between the bilge stringer on each side and the bottom bow of the transom. These are, well, 3/16 inch thick. They should hold. Those kinds of things simply made her stronger and really didn't hurt her. We will be removing everything from the inside of the boat. The controls, the steering wheel, the control panel, the speedometer, all of the seating. We will also be removing this dashboard because it comes off easily. And once we remove this dashboard and this seat back, we will be able to attack the beginnings of failed varnish just ahead of the steering wheel towards the center of this deck. Other than that, we've agreed with the owner that everything that's finished bright will be cleaned, sanded, and varnished anew without stripping to bare wood. The owner is really quite keen on maintaining this wonderful patina and this color that only age can generate. On the inside of the hull, again, everything's really in great shape. There's not a single even hint of failure in any of the ribs. The bilge paint's in pretty good shape. We will go through and sand that to a dull finish and apply a couple of coats of Lyman Santan bilge paint. The interior hull sides, again, really in excellent shape. We will again sand the ribs and the interior faces of the strakes throughout the entire hull and apply 2 to 3 coats of Sikkens Sea-Tall Marine. Not the glossy version, just Sea-Tall Marine. It will maintain this wonderful honey-esque hue and protect these surfaces without really making them super shiny. Lyman never intended for these hull sides to be shiny. As we move forward, we can see more work of our previous owner, the machinist. He wanted to make sure that she never came free of her trailer. So he fashioned this huge ring that is brass with fasteners that run through the stem, and then inside the stem are aluminum planks, I guess you'd call them, that run back about 6 feet on each side, are tied into this, are tied into the hull. I dare say you could pick the entire boat up by the nose and shake it, and nothing bad would happen. We are not going to attempt removing this thing, and we do face an interesting challenge. We would like to remove the bow strip, but the bow strip runs behind this piece, and we may end up being forced to work with the bow strip in place. We can polish it and then tape it very carefully after we've stripped all this and we start back with the Clear Penetrating Epoxy Sealer, we will be caulking all of the seams between the strakes. We'll be caulking the seams between the garboard and the keel all the way along. We've climbed under and looked at the bottom. The bottom, other than the paint is flaking away, the bottom is really in very acceptable condition. As you can see, she's a very, very original boat in terms of her hardware. And she sits astride a teeny trailer. This is a later teeny trailer, but still retains its baby moons. But it's here that we do face one issue. The trailer actually is too short for the hull. And if you remember, teeny trailers, especially trailers of this sort, I'm guessing this is a 1960s vintage example. We do still have the tag up on the drawbar, but I guess we could do some research, but we're not going to do that. But if you look right here, there is a pretty obvious hog. Well, that's because the aft rollers on the trailer, the center beam of the trailer, terminate right here. And as the boat has sat on that roller over time, it's forced the keel, the keelson, the ribs, and the two garboards up into a fairly pronounced hog. We are not going to attempt to correct this while Polliwog is with us. What we are going to do is the tubing that comes back had been cut off, and then the roller assembly was pushed into what was left of the tubing. We will fit square tubing into what is left of the original, bolt it in two places so that it is absolutely solid, and run it so that it and the roller assembly terminate right at the transom. So no longer will this hull be supported at this point. And we're hoping that over time, as a result, the hog well, it's certainly not going to get any worse. And I am a pretty good chunk of me's Irish, and so hope springs eternal. Maybe gravity will help this guy sort of drop out over time. And then what's really fun with these little Lymans is that their owners often did very curious and creative things. In this case, this seat is about 5 inches taller than the seat on the opposite side. Who would do that? Well, probably the previous owner, the first owner, fabricated 2 extensions to the original supports for this seat, and that accommodates the boat's battery. That is just really creative. We were a little taken aback when we first looked at her from the aft, from the transom forward. It just seemed something was off until Joe recognized that this guy's on this side's been extended. it's wonderful to see an early Lyman like this that hasn't been bollocksed up in terms of instrumentation, steering wheel, engine controls. She still retains her original oar locks. She retains the holders for the transport cover support, the battens that run across. Well, that's new. At this point, I have to end this. We are under a major flood alert here in Vermont right now. So that was the Weather Service's warning. And I'll just simply say goodbye, and we'll hope the rain doesn't flood this state anymore and upstate New York, but we're now expecting, let's say it's 2 p.m. here in Vermont, we're now expecting 3 inches of rain by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the rivers and streams, the tributaries to Lake Champlain, simply can't handle all of that. So we'll end this introduction at this point, but not before. This is the one area where we'll have to do some repair, but that's going to be relatively straightforward. And at this point, having met Polliwog, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.